Have you ever had one of those moments? Something so perfectly timed, so weirdly specific, that it just makes you stop and think, what are the odds? It feels like it's blurring the line between just a random coincidence and, well, something more. A calling, maybe. Today we're diving into a story that does exactly that, and it's going to make us ask some pretty big questions. And really, it all comes down to this one question. When life seems to be sending you a message, a sign, do you just shrug it off as random noise? Or do you actually listen? Are we talking about a simple coincidence here? Or is there something bigger going on? So here it is. This is the puzzle that started it all. You're looking at two different text exchanges that, on the surface, just don't make sense together. One person is trying to wrap their head around how a message they got today is perfectly, impossibly connected to a random thought they had 2 whole weeks ago. It just seems impossible, right? And that's what we're going to unpack. All right, so let's get into it. Let's really break down this impossible coincidence, a message that seems to completely defy all logic and timing. Okay, so check out this timeline because this is what's so wild. 2 weeks ago, this person just gets a thought that pops into their head. Corinthians 1-8. No context. They don't even really know what it means. Then, fast forward to today, and completely out of the blue, their cousin sends them a scripture. And what is it? It's from 2 Corinthians. I mean, the connection is so uncanny, you just can't ignore it. So, where do we even begin with something like this? How do you make sense of it? Well, let's do what any good investigator would do. Let's deconstruct the clues and break down the evidence, piece by piece. Okay, clue number 1. The origin. That phrase, Corinthians 1-8, it just appeared in their mind. It was totally unprompted. They weren't reading about it. No one was talking about it. It just arrived, And it's that spontaneous internal starting point that makes the text from their cousin 2 weeks later feel so electric. Now for clue number 2, and this is a big one, it's the content of the message. The scripture wasn't just some random verse picked out of a hat. No. It talks specifically about being overwhelmed, about feeling a pressure so huge you think you're going to break. So the message wasn't just strangely timed. It was deeply, incredibly relevant to what this person was actually going through in their own life. And our third and final clue? It's all about the timing. The person who got this text described it as a supernatural alignment, down to the second. They even wrote, "Got me in tears, man," because their gut, their spirit, whatever you want to call it, immediately recognized this impossible overlap. See, to them, this didn't feel like a coincidence at all. It felt like it was perfectly, divinely orchestrated. So, okay, if we're saying this isn't just a 1-in-a-million coincidence, then what is it? Well, the source material actually offers a really interesting framework for understanding these exact kinds of moments. It's a concept called spiritual pattern recognition. And this right here is the core idea. Spiritual pattern recognition is basically seeing connections on a spiritual frequency that most of us just don't notice. Think of it like seeing the invisible threads that connect seemingly random events. It's about intuition, timing, and alignment all coming together to form a meaningful picture. So how do these patterns actually show up? Well, according to this framework, it happens exactly like our story. You get the same word or idea, Corinthians. It comes from different people, themselves and their cousin. It happens on different days, 2 weeks apart. But it all happens with this perfect timing that creates an undeniable overlap. It's a perfect match. Okay, so we've got a theory for how this happened. But that just brings us to the biggest question of all, right? Why? What was the actual message here? What is the book of Corinthians even about? And what on earth could it mean for the person getting this sign? And this is where it gets really fascinating. There's this idea of a progression. See, 1 Corinthians is often seen as being all about building the foundation, preparing for your purpose. But 2 Corinthians, that's the one that's understood to be about going through some serious suffering and having that suffering transform you into a leader. It's a journey from preparation to power. And this quote, this is the heart of it all. The message wasn't just about suffering. It was about what comes after. This source describes this book as being about surviving something that absolutely should have broken you. And not just surviving, but coming back from it with real, authentic power. That was the message that arrived with such impossible timing. So the big takeaway here is that from this perspective, suffering isn't pointless. It's more like a forge. It's what shapes you. The idea is that your pain actually gives you authority. Your suffering makes you more relatable to other people. And those moments of weakness, they can actually become the very things that showcase a power that isn't your own. It's the belief that your trials are what prepare you to help guide others through theirs. When you put all this together, it can lead to this massive shift in perspective. Because let's be real, going through something this strange, this meta-aligned, could make anyone question their sanity. But what if that feeling isn't about going crazy at all? What if it's actually about waking up? And that is the powerful conclusion from the source material. That these weird connections, these uncanny synchronicities, they aren't a sign that you're losing it. They're a sign that you're starting to wake up to a whole new level of awareness. So what's the bottom line here? Well, according to this view, these incredible moments of alignment are like a huge confirmation. They're seen as what happens when your own spiritual awareness and your true life's purpose finally click into place at the exact same time. It's rare, it's profound, and when it happens, you feel it. And all of this leaves us with one last big thought to chew on. The next time you experience one of those startling, no-way coincidences, maybe don't just brush it off. Maybe ask yourself, what if this isn't random? What if coincidence is just a pattern that you haven't learned how to recognize?